What was that? This is not hyperbole. This is not an exaggeration. I am not saying this to be inflammatory. I am 100% serious. On a professional level, or in the case of the WNBA, a semi-professional level, the Chicago Bravado are one of, if not, the worst team I have ever seen.
With Caitlin Clark sidelined in street clothes, the Indiana Fever still crushed Chicago by 27, and Angel Reese's 4-point faceplant became a meme before the final buzzer.
Angel Reese now has more rebounds than points in her WNBA career. Who comes up with these stats?
When hype meets harsh reality. What do you call a night that was billed as women's basketball's biggest stage, only to end in restless boos and a 4-point stat line? Some fans dubbed it the United Center meltdown. Others called it the evening Angel Reese's aura finally cracked. Either way, June 7th, 2025 will live in WNBA lore as the moment a superstar candidate stood alone, and the arena still cleared out early. Resale tickets nosedived from eye-watering $393 highs to single-digit fire sales, and the Chicago Sky's new face of the franchise finished with fewer points than turnovers. The shockwaves haven't stopped rippling through box scores, social feeds, and front office boardrooms ever since.
The lowest point total since 2000.
But the numbers on the scoreboard only hint at the deeper story. A rivalry gone one-sided, a fan base making its priorities painfully clear, and a league betting its future on two players headed in opposite directions. Stick around, because each chapter of this saga gets more jaw-dropping than the last, and the final twist might decide whose jersey your kids beg for next Christmas. The $3 warning shot. 2 days before tip-off, Chicago hype sites were crowing that the Fever Sky Clash would be the most electric regular season show the WNBA.
The Indiana Fever absolutely dismantled the Chicago Sky, and a lot of today's focus is on the player that everybody, at least her fan base, all complicit, unfair. You know what? And to Angel Reese, they never should have done this.
Then one line of fine print changed everything. Caitlin Clark, quad strain out. Almost overnight, secondary market prices collapsed faster than a punctured basketball. Screenshots of $7 listings and a few viral $3 grabs spread like wildfire across X, sparking memes about choosing between a United Center ticket and a gas station candy bar. Why the free fall? Simple math. Clark isn't just a player, she's a traveling stimulus package. Analytics firm HoopSite pegged her average road game attendance bump at plus 10,200 fans, a figure no WNBA star has ever sniffed. Remove that magnet, and casual observers voted with their wallets. Chicago's front office tried to frame the discount bonanza as making basketball accessible, but insiders admitted sponsorship make-goods kicked in by the millions to compensate for the sudden revenue hole. The narrative sting cut deeper for Reese, who'd spent spring interviews declaring herself appointment television. Market forces disagreed. With Clark scratched, appointment evidently meant wait for the highlights on TikTok. And the sticker shock humiliation set the emotional tone for everything that followed. But empty seats were only the first crack in the mirror. Prime time in the house Jordan built, and the bricks that followed. The United Center oozes myth. Michael's double nickel, Dero's MVP roar, countless playoff miracles. It's an arena that demands greatness. The WNBA had never staged a regular season game there, so CBS cleared a national Saturday slot. The Sky donned special, windy gold, alternates, and league brass whispered, historic, into every mic they found. For 27 agonizing minutes, Angel Reese turned that anticipation into one of the coldest stat lines in primetime memory. 2 for 7 shooting for points, 2 assists, 3 turnovers, plus minus 23. By quarter 3, the Bulls' production crew began splicing old Jordan clips into timeout montages just to keep the crowd awake. Even the PA announcer's signature, N1, call sounded half-hearted when Reese clanked 2 open layups a full arm's length from the rim. Meanwhile, Clark's street clothes presence on the Indiana bench drew louder cheers than any Sky bucket. Fever guards Kelsey Mitchell and Aari McDonald torch switches, combining for 29 points and looking as comfortable as if they'd spent the last decade running pick and rolls together. When the final horn sealed a 79-52 beatdown, CBS analysts didn't mince words. Disaster class, brand extinction level, and proof hype can't box out. Yet a single off night can be shrugged off, right? Except this one carried deja vu for anyone who remembered a certain 35-point embarrassment 3 weeks earlier. Section 3. Flashback to May 17th. The first tremor. Gainbridge Fieldhouse, Indianapolis. The storyline back then was simple. College nemesis collide on the pro stage. But instead of a showdown, fans witnessed a 93-58 clinic that felt less like basketball and more like a documentary on fracturing confidence. Reese jawed, shoved, and tried to flex, but Caitlin Clark answered with dagger threes and no-look lasers that sent the home crowd into orbit. By night's end, the rookie from LSU had 9 points on 11 shots, 0 swagger left, and 1 meme in the making. The now infamous headshake caught perfectly by courtside lenses. That game established a pattern. Indiana's roster seemed to live rent-free in Reese's psyche. Every hard hedge forced a rushed floater. Every flop attempt earned side-eye from refs. So when June 7th rolled around, skeptics wondered, would the absence of Clark ease the pressure or just widen the exposure? The answer thundered early. Fever up 12 before Chicago's first field goal. And now, with Indiana 2-0 against the Sky this season, both wins by 25-plus points, the rivalry scoreboard isn't just lopsided. It's a canyon. Brand versus basketball. The optical tug-of-war. Angel Reese isn't just a forward. She's a multimedia enterprise. She fronts Beats commercials, lands front-row invites at Paris Fashion Week, and recently teased a collab makeup line dubbed Paint and Polish. Scroll her Instagram on any game day, and you'll find runway lighting, platinum braid close-ups, and hashtags like #BayouBlueprint. Those posts generate millions of impressions, but they feed a growing chorus that wonders if the craft has fallen behind the craftiness. Through June 9th, Reese shoots 30.9% from the field, lowest among WNBA starters who average double-digit shots. She leads the league in offensive rebounds at 4.4 per night, yet ranks outside the top, 40 in effective field goal percentage. Translation: cleaning her own misses pads the glass numbers, but scoring remains an open wound. Media lightning rods seized on the optics. Skip Bayless quipped that Reese is IG's most valuable pattern, not player, while podcast host Mina Kimes argued the criticism is half unfair, half unavoidable. If you brand yourself as the storm, every drizzle gets judged. Reese fired back online, reminding followers the rebounding crown doesn't polish itself. Yet every clanged layup adds new fuel to the branding over basketball debate, and the United Center flop poured gasoline. Still, zoom out and you'll see a parallel conversation about how fans frame two stars who happen to play the same position but look very different in more ways than one. Narrative minefields, bias, backlash, and the algorithms that profit. From ESPN roundtables to Reddit breakdowns, the Clark-Reese discourse has mutated into something bigger than stat sheets. Some call it a commercial rivalry, others a cultural Rorschach test. Candace Parker pointedly asked on NBA Today, why is passion dubbed competitive in one player and classless in another? Market research firm PulseTrack pulled data from 1.8 million tweets and found negative adjectives tagging Reese at nearly triple Clark's rate after identical box scores, evidence that unconscious bias, #tribalism, or both, are shaping online heat maps. Regardless of motive, YouTube's recommendation engine loves the polarity. Type Angel Reese, and the sidebar queues up a conveyor belt of thumbnails. Reese exposed, baby giraffe fumbles again, and the evergreen Clark versus Reese. Who's real? The watch time gold rush incentivizes louder pundits, edgier captions, and editing tricks that freeze Reese's worst facial expressions in 4K slow-mo. For the WNBA, it's a double-edged sword. Outrage posts juice engagement numbers, but they also risk narrowing a complex athlete into a single meme. And if Reese doesn't flip the script soon, she could find the algorithm turning her career into a cautionary click farm. Yet while keyboards clatter, Indiana's locker room quietly refines a formula built for rings, not retweets. Depth charges. Fever fundamentals trump missing stars. You could forgive Indiana for mailing it in without Clark, Quad, Sophie Cunningham, Ankle, and head coach Stephanie White, personal leave. Instead, acting skipper Austin Kelly treated the night like a playoff dry run. His post-game huddle footage, now viral on TikTok, captured the mantra. Stack days, string possessions, suffocate with defense. On-court execution matched the rhetoric. The Fever recorded 20 assists on 27 made buckets, a staggering 74% assist rate that screams buy-in. Kelsey Mitchell exploited every switch. Aari McDonald looked like a decade-long franchise cornerstone rather than a hardship signing, and Aliyah Boston turned pick-and-roll dives into mid-paint clinics. Chicago, by contrast, totaled 9 assists and evolved into ISO bailouts midway through the second quarter. Stats nerds will note another ominous trend. Indiana is now 2-2 in the Clark-less stretch, with both wins coming by 20-plus margins. Their net rating without the rookie sensation sits at plus 6.8, top 3 in the league over that window. In other words, the Fever's floor remains playoff caliber, and their ceiling may be months away from discovery. Which loops back to Reese's predicament. If the opponent gets scarier the moment Clark returns, how steep does the curve get for Chicago's young star? Countdown clock, quad strains, rematch dates, and legacy lines. Caitlin Clark's quadricep strain, first suffered May 24th versus New York, was reevaluated June 9th. Coaches adopted a cautious, ramp-up timeline, ruling her out against Atlanta on June 10th and eyeing a Liberty showdown later in the week. The delay buys Reese time on paper, but the calendar doesn't care about mercy. July 27th marks the United Center rematch, and tickets are already trending upward based on the assumption that Clark will be active. Internal memos leaked to The Athletic suggest Chicago's marketing team will roll out Bayou breakout promos, attempting to spin adversity into a revenge tour narrative. Yet coaches are blunt internally. Reese must lift her scoring average above 12 by mid-July to tilt defensive game plans. Otherwise, opponents will keep swarming Marina Mabrey on the perimeter and daring Reese to manufacture buckets she hasn't proved she owns. Failure invites a brutal alternative, becoming the league's most famous glass cleaner who still watches fourth quarters from the bench when her team needs points. And in an era where highlight dunks and logo trays dominate screens, rebounds alone rarely headline TikTok reels. So how does a 23-year-old pivot under a microscope brighter than some NBA rookies ever face? Forks in the hardwood. 3 paths forward for Angel Reese. Skill retool. The Jonquil route. Jonquil Jones entered the league as a rebounding machine who shot sub 30% outside 5 feet. 2 off-seasons with a shooting lab guru in Miami expanded her range to 18 feet and opened all-star lanes. Reese could duplicate the blueprint. Word is she's already booked sessions with footwork specialist Edon Ravine during the Olympic break. Brand first, the Dennis Rodman Gambit. Embrace the chaos. Double down on runway outfits, become the league's most quotable soundbite, and trust that eyeballs equal leverage even if field goal percentage lags. It's a risk-reward play, short-term sponsorship spikes, but every cold night fuels the style over substance chorus. Two-way terror, the Draymond parallel. Lean into defense. Reese's 1.6 steals per game already ranked top 15, adds switch-ready lateral quickness, and she could morph into Chicago's emotional engine. The scoring critique would soften if she consistently erased opponents' best forwards. Each path demands sacrifice. Either hours in the gym, PR vulnerability, or studying as much tape on positioning as on rim rolls. And with every Fever matchup magnified on national TV, the window to choose a lane is shrinking by the day. Supernova or shooting star. 3 seismic truths detonated beneath Chicago's championship aspirations on June 7th. Ticket prices tell inconvenient tales. When Clark vanished, so did the premium. Market value speaks louder than marketing slogans. Performance outlives personality. Runway walks fade from memory. 4-point nights stay in databases forever. Rivalries pick their heroes. Right now, Indiana owns the script, and their leading actress hasn't even taken the stage. So here we stand. Angel Reese, 23 years old, social media titan, defensive glass cleaner, and the pivotal character in a drama that could redefine how the WNBA monetizes stardom. Either she sharpens her tools and rewrites the narrative, or she becomes the most searched punchline in women's hoops history. Caitlin Clark is lacing up soon. The scoreboard resets to 0-0. And the next 40 minutes of basketball could stamp a legacy in ink that never dries. Are we witnessing the rise of a future MVP, or the loudest echo of hype without hardware? If you're ready for the answer, pound that bell, drop a fire baby giraffe in the comments, and ride shotgun with us the moment these two titans collide again, because the next chapter might leave jaws on floors from Chicago to Chennai.